Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to get this thing up and running. So, who am I, and why does it matter? I think just to give you some context around who I am kind of helps you understand where I come from, what my background is, and why the things are important that are important to me, and why I'm speaking about what I'm speaking about today. So I'm South African, as the brochure indicates, and as my accent gives away, I think. I have been told that I sound South African, which is a good thing, because that's what I am. Grew up there, and I have an academic background in a number of things, which is very confusing for everyone, especially for me, because I don't know what I am and who I am. So I studied mathematics, economics, financial engineering, and computer science, mostly because I was very confused about what I want to do. I think now I know, kind of, but I also knew when I was 10 years old, and that's where my data story starts. As a 10-year-old, I was very interested in sports, as any good South African young boy should be, and especially tennis. Tennis is something I really like, and I used to play imaginary tennis tournaments. A little bit sad, because I had no friends, I had to do it imaginary. So I created some systems and some ways whereby I devised entire tennis tournaments. I would create the entire tournament and list all of the players. And then I played, true story, I actually played matches against the wall. And I had a system whereby the wall could beat me or I could beat the wall. And then before this game, I would flip a coin, and in this match, I would be, John McEnroe, or I would be the opponent, and we'd play. And eventually, I played the entire tournament like that, and then there would be a winner. And I wrote all of this down on pieces of paper, and then I would start the next tournament. And over time, I gathered a number of tournaments. And that's when, as a 10-year-old, my mind started saying, but I should actually give the people who won and got into the finals and into the semifinals some points, some reward for achieving this, And I started gathering data. And then I started calculating a world ranking, which is all very interesting. But then I started saying, okay, cool, but is this entirely fair? Because if you gathered some points 12 tournaments ago or 40 tournaments ago, should they still be valid? Because maybe now you're off form. So I introduced to myself this concept of a time-weighted average for a points system. Fast forward a few years, when I was 15, my father one day came home with this box, and it was a computer. And that was the first time I saw a computer. And a lot of my friends in school already had computers, and they all wanted to play games. When I saw this machine, my mind immediately said, how do I use this thing to help me not manually write down all the statistics and the calculation of the world ranking things? And if that wasn't a dead giveaway that I should do something with data in my life, then I'm not sure what should be. And that's where data started for me. And I think it's a fairly long and mildly uninteresting story to most of you, but quite interesting to me at least. The moral of the story is, as soon as I was empowered with the right tools, it made my life so much easier to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And it just took some technology and a little bit of training from somebody who actually knew what they were doing to help me to be able to do it as well. I saw outside the Think Big Analytics people. This is a shameless mention of their name, because I think it's quite a cool slide, or whatever you call this thing, that they have out there. Some of the challenges, or they're listed as, what are your analytics challenges? And they list things like, we should monetize data to create new revenue opportunities, and we need to focus on increasing profitability and integrating financial and non-financial data and standardizing processes and these sort of things. And I fully agree that these are the challenges. And I think everybody in this room kind of agrees that these are really the business challenges we're facing, and as data specialists, we're trying to address. However, another shameless punt coming up, or shameless mention of something coming up, but just your disclaimer. I recently got 6 new people to join our team, and I have 7 more vacancies. That was the part that I wanted you to hear, which means I've been interviewing a lot of people. I've been talking to a lot of people. And one of my favorite questions to ask is, why do you want to be a data scientist? And this is the part where I get confused, and this is also what I want to talk about today, is very few people speak to me about the questions on this page. Very few data science prospects who come in for interviews talk to me about the business value that they want to add, solving these increased profitability, new revenue opportunities. They talk to me about technologies and how their skills are suited to be a data scientist, which is also mildly interesting because I want to know that you are kind of skillful, but that's in my mind, that's the wrong reason for wanting to be a data scientist. At the end of the day, or at least a data scientist at a corporate or at a company, at the end of the day, we're a business. We're trying to achieve something through our business. We've got some reason for existence. And if we as data scientists and a data community are not going to contribute to that, then maybe we should be in research or in academia, where it is okay to do data science for the sake of data science because somebody has to do this, right? Somebody has to create these cool technologies and tools and algorithms and things that we want to use. But for us, it should be about the business. And one fundamental problem that I have with that, I have no idea what I have up there. Let's have a look. I read these things, they came out, I think, December last year. And it kind of just echoes what I'm thinking and what I've been saying. These articles were published, and when I read this, I go immediately to the question, but is it true? Are people really employing 150 data scientists and they see no business value? That scares the living daylights out of me. And why are you not getting value from your data science? And the core question is, but why? What is the problem? I have an opinion about that, which kind of changes every couple of months, but I think one of the core problems, at least, is that as a data science community, it seems like oftentimes, I'm trying to generalize this as much as possible so I don't offend too many people, but it seems like we too often are too exclusive. There seems to be a belief that there are a core number of people who have the know-how and the skills and the ability to do this, and we tend to exclude a whole bunch of people. Yeah, sure, we talk about citizen data scientists, and we even give them a different name. But I believe that mindset is one of the problems. So for me, the things that are important, that I'm trying to achieve, at least in my role at my company, I want to empower people and train people and teach people what it is that we do and help them have the ability to understand where the opportunities are. Machine learning, data science, however you want to categorize it as, is a tool that solves problems. It does not solve all the problems in the world. That would be awesome. But it is a tool that solves problems. But if you don't understand what the problems are, what the types of problems are that can be solved using it, you're probably going to be ineffective in applying it. The flip side of that is expecting data scientists or a group of data scientists or a team of how many ever you have, 10, 20, 30, 40, 150, to be domain experts in the entire domain of the entire company, and them being the ones spotting the opportunities, is equally unfair. I think the collaboration between data scientists and the rest of the organization in spotting the opportunities lies within the data science community, within the organization, teaching and training the rest to understand where the opportunities lie. Then the next question, and this is my absolute favorite question to ask about anything, is so what? Now you've spotted an opportunity, so what? What are you going to do about it? Do you have the ability to execute on that opportunity? And then do it in a smart way, hopefully, so that you don't just copy and paste what the next guy is doing, because then you're just going to be as good as them, but you hopefully want to be a little bit better. So you have to have some kind of competitive advantage. The opportunities are, this is a fairly generic blah slide, but we know that the opportunities are all around us. There are a multitude of opportunities, whether you are in banking, insurance, whatever you are in, and within your company, whichever domain, every domain has opportunities. But again, expecting a team of data scientists to understand marketing and sales and risk and HR and logistics and finance and all the rest that I didn't list there, to the extent that they are able to spot the opportunities, is just not a reasonable expectation. And the empowerment of our partners in those departments is really what will lead to the opportunities. My view, my opinion, is that every leader in the organization, and I think every employee for that matter, should be looking for opportunities. And I call it machine learning specifically, but let's call it data science, because there are other ways of solving problems as well. Yeah, that's really what I believe. Goran wants to take a picture. Yeah. He likes the slide. Take your picture and then I'll... Cool. All right, then you've spotted the opportunities. Cool. Now what? And this is where it becomes a little bit tricky. Equally as unfair as it is of, let's call it a nice round number, 13 data scientists to identify the opportunities in the entire organization, it is equally as unfair to expect those 13 to execute on those opportunities. As you may or may not have seen on slide 1, I named my talk Machine Learning for All, which is slightly different than what's in the brochure, and there's a good reason for that, but I'll ignore that for now. And this is really what I want to talk about, is the empowerment of people around us, analysts and others in the organization, to have the right tools to help them solve their problems to some extent. It's great that we've empowered them to identify their problems or their opportunities. Now let's help them solve it. And solving could mean multiple things, and it depends on who you are dealing with. And it depends on the level of sophistication of the problem, and it depends on the level of understanding and sophistication of the team or individuals that you are working with. So I'm not for a minute suggesting that everyone should become data scientists that will deploy solutions, but there are many good tools and many ways in which we can empower people to, at the very least, do some discovery work and some POCs and some quick models to see whether there is value. I do get a lot of resistance from data scientists when I talk about this. I realize that, because I am fundamentally saying that we should distribute this thing that we do to more people. However, a number of years ago, I realized that the way to achieve significance and the way to be great is to not try and be great yourself, because I believe that you can be good by yourself, but you can never be great by yourself. Greatness is achieved in teams, and it's achieved by empowering more people. I also realized that I'm not scalable. I know I look like I'm scaling a little bit now, but I'm not scalable in my ability to execute. I used to write some code. I used to do some algorithmic trading stuff, and whether I liked it or not, I could work for 16, 18, 20 hours a day, and that's sort of it. And that's the only way of scaling as an individual. Plan B, or the better option, is to teach and empower people, because then you can have 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 people that can do kind of what you can do, and it becomes a problem-solving mechanism that is actually scalable and achievable on a larger scale than just me trying to be great. And that's kind of how I feel about us as data scientists as well. Yeah, it's cool having 12 people in your team and you're 12 very smart data scientists, but so what? You can do what 12 people can do. What if you scale that to 120? I think it's obvious what could happen there. What is stopping us today? It's that thing up there. We've all seen that. We know this. Expecting everyone to be a data scientist and to have that little red block in the middle is just totally unreasonable. I think expecting it from one person is unreasonable. Like, just finding that guy is tricky, very, very tricky. That's why we call them unicorns. Yeah, this is a problem. So how do we solve it? Well, automate as much as you can. There are things that can be automated. I studied mathematics, so I won't claim I'm an expert, but I know something about maths, and the algorithms that we use are just that. It's an algorithm, and it's the same for everyone. Yeah, you can tweak the parameters and whatever, but it's the same mathematics behind it, which means it is fairly automatable. A machine is most likely much better at that than you and I. The computer science part, a lot of that is automatable. It's data flowing from there to there, and there's some kind of transformation that happens on it. I mean, come on, it's code. We can automate that. The business acumen part, we're not going to automate that this year, but maybe one day in the future, there will be some cool tools for that. But once you take those, once you look at that slide and you look at the two automate arrows that I put in there, and if you buy that and you believe that it is possible to some extent, it should be obvious that now everyone who has a bit of business acumen becomes a potential candidate to use this sort of world and be a pseudo data scientist, almost data scientist, data analyst, citizen data scientist. I hate that word, but it's a cool description. I like this saying as well. I got it from our good friend, Mr. Google. Data science only works when business people ask the right questions and take action with the answers. I believe this. There are many good tools that help us achieve this slide. I was very tempted to name some of them, but I'm not going to get any kickback from them, so I won't. Absolutely no point. But yeah, right now I'm actively looking at employing a lot of these, not a lot, but employing these sort of ideas, but employing specific pieces of software to help achieve this. Because, like I said, we have got not enough people to do the work that we currently want to do, let alone, heaven forbid, we have a bunch of people in the organization identifying more opportunities. I'm already struggling with the recruitment process. So imagine I need 10 more people. It's just not going to work. And this is actually what sparked all of this a few months back when I realized that I'm really struggling to find good people. And then a discussion with a colleague, in a discussion with a colleague, he said to me, but we have really good people in the company. Why don't you just use them? I said, yeah, but I cannot just poach people from other parts of the organization. And he said, no, don't poach them. Just teach them. And I was like, that's so obvious. It's so obvious. But it's not how we think. Again, because I believe that X percentage of data scientists and the data science community has this belief that in some way they can learn and they can be trained, but the rest of the people in the organization not. Don't know where that comes from. And maybe it's just my observation, maybe I'm wrong. And I hope I'm wrong. I sincerely hope I am wrong, because I believe it to be untrue. And we should be asking the right questions. Cool. So how do you get the advantage now that you have the tools and you've automated it? I can already hear the objections coming from you. Yeah, but if we all use the same tools, we're just not going to have the advantage, right? And I claimed we should have some kind of advantage. Well, that's where the advantage comes in, is actually knowing your business. And in our context, what that means to a large extent is actually knowing your data and creating good features from your data. Having the raw data is one thing. Creating good features is a completely different story. Modeling, as I said, is something that is fairly automatable. But the garbage in, garbage out statement is entirely true for modeling. If you give a model absolute rubbish data, you cannot possibly expect a good prediction. So spending time in your data, understanding your data, knowing what's going on in there, and creating good features, I believe, is where the majority of your time should be spent as a data scientist. The modeling side on the back end is, whatever. Using a large and diverse set of algorithms, this is another thing. If you have a team of X data scientists, how many models can you really build in terms of different types? It's very limited. Machines, again, are geared towards building basically all of them. And they can iterate through hyperparameter adjustments and all sorts of things, which is going to take time for an individual to do otherwise. Knowing your models and having good deployment pipelines, this really just speaks to, at some point, you have to actually understand what this machine is doing, the know your model part. That's the part where I do agree that there's some level of expertise that will always be required. You need a proper data scientist who actually knows what they're doing to at least validate and confirm that what this machine is producing is not absolute rubbish. And having good deployment pipelines. Again, you want to be able to automate this in a good way as possible. What are these advantages? Kind of a marketing slide. You would swear I'm selling machine learning tools here, but I'm not. But time to value, it's multiple times faster, I believe. You have the ability to democratize machine learning, data science across the organization. And consistency. This is an interesting one to me. I thought about this because data scientists do have different ways of working, slight different styling codes, coding styles. Whew, that went wrong. And people are just not at the same level. However, if you have a standardized way and some tool to help you, you could really get some consistency in what you're producing. And that is what I believe. I had another slide, which disappeared. It disappeared. Who really cares? The moral of the story, as you heard, is that I believe we should and can be able to help everyone in the organization become better in understanding what it is that we do, identify opportunities, put tools in their hands to help solve their problems or start to solve their problems in some kind of way, thereby freeing up our time to hopefully spend more time in identifying opportunities ourselves or spend time in the data to create better features to optimize our models ourselves. That's what I believe. Thanks.